Okay, so I got the fuel proofing done in the fuel tank area. That's the fuel tank platform I'm going to glue in. It's held on with rubber bands, but I'm just going to pack the fuel tank in there with a bunch of foam, because rubber bands will eventually give way. So I'm just going to use foam on that. Got the firewall area all fuel proofed. Underside of the top platform and the hatch. And if you're wondering what this is, my fuselage sides, one of them had a little flare out. This side, the right hand side had a little flare outwards. The other one was straight and flat. So I wet the plywood, weighed down this front part by the firewall. I didn't want to weigh it down back here because I might have put a twist in the fuselage, so I'm just doing it right up here. And I put this weight on there to kind of hold down on it, and I'm gonna let that dry for a few hours and take the weights off. It should be perfect after that. So there's where I am, waiting for this fuel proofing to dry. And then we're gonna get to putting this top platform in with the dash, getting the fuel tank platform glued in. I'm gonna epoxy it in, I think, and put that top rear section of the hatch in. I'm gonna get the front part where the hatch goes. I'm gonna sand the edges to where it goes in nice and easy, because I don't want a very tight fit on the hatch. I want to be able to undo those two screws here and take it off easily. So it's going to be a nice loose fitment. Not really loose. It'll look nice once it's covered and stuff. But then after that's all done, I believe we put the exits for the push rods and start gluing everything together. Well, not gluing, but start sanding the fuselage to shape. And we'll get to covering, I believe. And that's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I haven't used Monocoat in a while. It's been at least 2 years, and it's going to be fun. I love the Monocoat. So it's raining like heck out today, so I'm in the shop messing around. Anytime it's nice, I like to be outside doing stuff, or really late night in the shop. So anyway, I'll get back to you as soon as this thin resin dried. 50% hardener, 50% resin, and the whatever equals the 100% in denatured alcohol. So 5 grams, 5 grams, 10 grams. That's how I mixed it. So anyway, see you in a little bit. Welcome back to Frank's Model Aviation Workshop. This episode we're going to finish up the fuselage on the Goldberg Tiger II, get it to where we're ready to final sand, fill with Model Magic balsa filler, and get it all shaped up for covering. And that'll be covered in the covering video, of course. So let's get started and get this fuselage finished. But before we do that, if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified of future episodes. And be sure and like and share my videos. I'd really appreciate it. So let's get going. Okay, so what I've done, I went ahead, like I showed you earlier, and I fuel-proofed the engine compartment and the tank compartment. And on the engine compartment, I took some 320, and after it was all dried, I smoothed it out. You're not going to be able to get to every nook and cranny in here, but all the places that you can reach, just make sure it's nice and smooth, like up in this area. That way, when you go to paint, it'll look good at the field. You want your stuff to look nice. Or try to anyway. Do the best you can. So I got it all sanded. This bottom plate, the two sides, and most of the firewall area. Still waiting on my screws for the engine mount. They should be here this week sometime. So, I also went ahead and I pre-sanded all the protrusions along the fuselage, like where these tabs are. Some of them stick out, some of them don't. But you want to take a sanding bar and flatten all those out best you can. That way, when you go to put your filler in, all you have to do is round the edges. Probably should round the edges first, then put the filling, and then just lightly go over the filling. That way, because if you put the filling in now and you go to round, you're gonna gouge out some of the filling, or you're gonna see where you filled. So we'll go over that when we get to the finishing stages. But anyway, let's get going on this. I got to put the top of the fuselage in, the dash, and the top of the firewall area. I'm gonna glue this in, and I'm not using rubber bands to hold my tank in. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna use foam just packed in around it. Needs it anyway to keep the fuel from foaming up. So anyway, I'll put you on the tripod and we'll get going. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and glue this tank tray in, and that way I have easier access to it. So we're gonna wedge it in there. Hopefully we don't break anything when we do it. Let's see. That point there is an arrow facing forward. That's the way it should go in. Okay, there you go. It's in. Now we're going to put a bead of CA along there. Medium, of course. So the tank area is completely fuel-proofed. Bottom and top of the tray, bottom of the hatch cover, it's all fuel proofed. So after the CA dries, I'm going to test fit the tank. It fits in pretty good, but I just want to make sure it's getting there, gonna be good. So that's that for now. Now we're gonna go over here. We'll do this top hatch area. So what I like to do is I like to test fit everything. And as you're test fitting, you want to tape it on. Tape it where you want it. That'll ensure a tight glue joint. And as I'm taping, I pull on the tape a little bit and then push down on it. That way the tape kind of like pulls it in. As you can see, there's a gap here. We'll pull that in. Oops, I didn't hold on to my tape. That's that section. Now we'll go ahead and tape this upper section in. And this will be glued from underneath the fuselage. Use as much tape as you need to ensure a tight glue joint. It'll always come off later. This section here, you can see there's like a raised, that'll get beveled off and that seam will be filled, so it'll become invisible. We're almost done with this thing. Can't wait. Okay, so that's that. Now we're gonna put in the dashboard. Check to make sure your sanding job is right. That should be beveled, and it is. Okay. All right, I think we're ready to start gluing. So we'll glue everything from the underside. It'll probably be hard for you guys to see all this. We're so close to being done with this, I can smell the nitro. Okay. Okay, we'll let that cure and come back and put another coat on it. And I'll get right back with you. While I'm waiting on this to cure, I'm going to test fit my hatch pieces. I want this hatch to be flush with the front of the firewall, which it is right now. There's a slight gap right here, which will be okay. You can fill that with epoxy, or you can even mix some micro balloons in there to fill it in. I'm just going to fill it with Model Magic. It's going to be covered with the canopy anyway, so there's no structural strength needed right there. So, and now what I'm doing now is I'm test fitting this hatch cover that's removable. It's going to have a little scrap piece of plywood glued to it, so it has like a little tab, and it'll screw down into the firewall top. So I want this to fit to where it's fairly loose, because you're going to have covering inside here and covering wrapping around. So you want to be able to, after it's covered, for that to fit just perfectly. So I'm just taking my sanding bar and just little by little taking some material off until I get the fit that I want. Just go slow, and see right there, it popped in, but I need more. I need more of a gap. It's too tight. What I'm doing there is getting this to match up better. Okay, I like that. Oops, too far. I'm going to go ahead and glue this hatch in. Okay. I changed my mind on this. I'm gonna wedge some. This is the kit aileron, inner aileron stock. I didn't like it because it's like tapered. It's thinner here than here, so I cut my own. So I'm just gonna mark this and cut a little sliver off of it. I'm basically making more of a taper so it wedges in there better. Now this can protrude a little. It's going to get sanded right off. That'll basically go in like that. And I'm going to glue that in there with some thin CA because it'll be instantly locked in. I don't want to clog up my sandpaper yet. I'm going to let that dry. Now we'll continue getting my gap right on here. See, it fits nice right now, but I need more of a gap for the covering. Getting closer. And really close. Trying to take an even amount off each side. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. You can see a slight movement. That's probably enough for the covering, but I'm going to take just a hair more off. And if you notice, I'm kind of putting like a round on it a little bit. That's going to help it. Yeah, that's perfect right there. You can see that movement. That's enough to where when I cover that, it's going to be a nice snug fit. So now I'm going to glue that little tab on. I got to find me some scrap plywood. Okay, so I found a piece of scrap. I'm going to cut a part off, and then we'll just glue that on like that. That way you have your lip. So I'll cut that off about half inch, maybe 3/4. I'll make it 3/4 of an inch. Let's dull the X-Acto knife blade on my metal ruler. That's nice. There we go. I kind of rounded the edges off here. You don't have to. It's just something that takes the sharp edges off. It'll appear nicer. Like, you know, you're never gonna see it, but that's all right. All right, so now I'm gonna mark a 1/4 inch line back, so 1/4 of an inch is exposed. And I use these clear rulers. They have like, I don't know if you can see it, but they got graduations. So just line up your 1/4 inch line. That's a perfect 1/4 inch, and we'll just put it on here, glue it up. Use medium CA. Now this will have to be fuel proofed. There it is. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and glue or not glue, but drill those holes there. I'm gonna take that down to hold it. Actually, I'm gonna pull that out just a hair for the covering purposes. can see I left a slight gap there because when we go to cover, if I drill those holes now, the covering's going to wedge up against that and it's going to be too tight of a fit. It could warp your hatch cover, make it bow or whatever. But I wanted to give myself a little bit of leeway. So I'm going to drill a pilot hole down through here with my centering drill. Alright, now we'll figure out what size drill we need. 3/32 drill. These screwdrivers suck. Too big. That'll work. There you have it. Hatch glued in, got a nice gap. Not glued in, screwed in. It's got a nice gap around the perimeter for monocoat. And what I'll do is I'll monocoat this last. We'll get all the monocoat around here in that little channel, and then we'll test fit it again. We might need to sand a little bit more on the sides. So if we do, we do. It's no big deal. So I'll take this off. And by now, my the stuff we just glued on is ready to have a second coat put on it. any little divots like that, I'll fill with Model Magic. Okay, a second coat has been applied to the plates I just put on the top, dashboard and all. I'm gonna let that cure up, and then when we come back, we're going to be putting the pushrod exit tubes in. Okay, as you can see, I got my canopy cut out. It's got this protective film on it. I'm not gonna peel that off till I get ready to glue it on. But the best way to cut these things out, each side has like a flat, and it has like a flange all the way around it. The way I like to do it is cut those flats off on both ends, cut the flanges off, and then cut your sides. It makes it so much easier to trim it. So once that, it's warped, but once it's glued on, it'll look good. Fits perfectly. I test fitted it. So still waiting on that glue to dry, and we're almost done. Okay, the next step is to round all the sharp edges. I'm not gonna round any of these. These are gonna stay sharp, but the top here, from the back of the canopy to the front of where the stabilizer goes, and the bottom all the way to the tail and the front section here. So I'm going to start with the bottom, and I'll start the process, and then I'm going to put it in fast speed because it takes a while. Depending on what you're doing, I like to start with a heavier grit. I think this is 180. Just kind of knock the sharp edge off, basically. Slowly but surely, don't push too hard on it. And as you go, you feel. The better your sanding job, the better your covering job is going to be. I also like to use a sanding bar when I come up on this edge here. I don't want to round it off with my hand, so I'll use a sanding bar. And there's no rush. Just take your time. Use the light as your guide too. You can tell how far around it is just by where the shadow and light line is. I think that looks pretty good right there. So I'll put you in fast speed, and I'll continue doing this side and the rest of the plane. Okay, I'm done with the rounding of the edges. Turned out pretty decent. Canopy fits really good. Now, another thing that I like to do, it's gonna be hard to show you while I'm filming, but these edges on the inside, I like to just lightly just give them a little sand just to get the sharpness off of them, because you don't want anything poking up through your monocoat job. So I just kind of dull those edges a little bit, maybe even sand the inside edge. So I'm going to do that, and then you probably saw me break out the thin CA. Took some thin CA and just ran it in this rectangle that I filled in, and then sanded over it, and that it feels like glass. You can't even feel nothing there. So when I go to cover that, it'll be nice and smooth. So I'm going to go through and sand these openings, and when I come back, we will install the exit tubes on both sides and get them trimmed off. So I'll set you back up, put you on fast speed again. Okay, now that I got the fuselage all rounded, I got all my openings sanded, softened the edges. That way when you put your covering on, it'll look nice. This bottom piece, or the tail piece right here, you can see how that's recessed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the stabilizer off, leave the rudder or the tail fin on, and I'm going to sand this to the rudder tail post, or stabilizer tail post. Get that flush, and then we'll move on to the exit tubes. But I want to get all that preliminary stuff done first. Okay, so there I have it. I'm thinking about rounding this just to, I don't know, make it more aerodynamic, I guess. It doesn't show it rounded on the plans, but I think it would look nicer. Let's see, I'm just gonna knock the edge off. I don't know, maybe I'll just leave it like that. Why, you know, why do that when it looks good already? All right, so let's see what it looks like with the stabilizer on it. Okay, so it still needs more taken off. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see it a little bit. Still got a little bit of recess, so I'm gonna keep working on it. I'll get that done. I guess I could take the elevators off. Of course, it ain't gonna matter because once I take the elevators off, let's see. Tell you what, I'm just gonna, I know where it's gotta be. So let's put it back on and see where we're at. Yeah, there it is. Here I might do, I might tape that in position. That way it doesn't move. Now we'll do it. A lot of you guys are probably like, he is spending way too much time on that. Maybe, but my name is on this thing. And when it's out at the field, I don't want them to say, did you see that? You know, I just like to put as much time as it takes to get it as perfect as I can get it. And if it draws some bad attention, then well, you know, at least I gave it 100 and 10%. So that's done. Now we will concentrate on, well, let's check the alignment of that stabilizer one more time. And you can't see it in the film. I'll put this one. See where we're at. It should be on now. That's way better right there. Okay, so what I've got going on now, I'm installing the throttle pushrod tube and the steering pushrod tube. Getting those ready. I'm going to leave them long in here until I figure out where I'm going to put my servos. And then we'll trim. Plus I want to add like braces inside the fuselage so these aren't flexing as you're working the controls. So that's what I'm up to now. Installed. So that's them sticking out about 1/8 of an inch or less. But they're in. Now we're going to put the push rods in the back. I don't like that design, but that's what I have to work with. So these go in at a specific angle. So I've got my weights here, keeping the fuselage in a position I need to put these in. So what I'm going to do is just place them in there, line them up like that, and glue them in. Okay, so in order to hold that angle, I'm going to take a piece of tape, put it on the push rod like that. Maybe. That ain't gonna work. Well, maybe it will work. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get another weight. So what I want to do, I want to hold these up against it. That'll work perfectly just like that. So what I'm going to do, I'll get both of these prepped and ready. And I'll pin these in place. Use another piece of tape on that push rod. It's not an exact science, but I just like to set myself up for success, as they say. That's just going to keep that from moving. Do the same for the other one. Get them pinched in there. So those aren't moving anywhere. Okay, I like that one. I like them both, actually. So I'm gonna like pull out on this and put some medium CA on it. Just to get it tacked in place. Same with the other side. Once that's tacked good and cured, I'm going to take the weights off and go in here and reinforce those joints from the inside. It's gonna be a little hard because there's no real access, but we'll figure out a way. Once those are cured and glued, I'm going to take my razor saw, and you know, these things will be out of the way, but I'm gonna saw them off. Some people use a razor knife. You can do that, but I've had better success using this than a knife. I used this on my P40 and it worked perfectly. So I'm gonna let this cure up a little. Looks pretty good. And then we'll come back and put a reinforcement glue on it. Okay, I think they're cured enough. I'm gonna go ahead and put that second coat on, take this tape off carefully. As you can see, they're flush where they come to that section. So I'm going to put a bead of glue around this edge. Hopefully I don't break it free. I think I might just tack it a little bit at a time. Let that cure for a little while. Okay, so while that's curing a little bit, I'm going to discuss what I'm going to do now. Where these push rods pass through the formers, I'm going to use some extra plywood, cut it just big enough to where I can glue it on this former here across. And I'm going to drill 2 holes kind of at a diagonal because, you know, they cross each other pretty much right there. And I'm going to feed them through, glue this on at the exact spot that it needs to go on the plan, right here, which is basically just above this joint here. So I'm going to go ahead and make one of those up and see how it goes. So I extrapolated from the plans where those pieces need to go through, or where the rods need to go through. So one's going to go through here, and one's going to go through here, or vice versa, depending on where I drill my holes. So I'm going to go drill those holes, and I'll be back. And there it is. Now I'm going to feed those tubes through and glue this to that former. So there it is. I got it through my thing and or through my reinforcement there. And as you can see, if you can see the plan there, they're pretty much dead on. Kind of hard to focus on those, but they're pretty close to being dead on. Anyway, next one I want to make is for here. And I'm going to do that after I put another reinforcement tack on this. Okay, there they are, elevator and rudder push rods. They're in there, supported, so there should be no binding. Now check this out. This is the kit servo tray. You put the switch there. Well, it shows it mounted right here. Right back in here like this. Now, you see that? How do you get to the screws on the servo? Unless you only put 3 in the 2 side ones and then 4 in the middle. I suppose it would work, but that's odd. And you can't pre-mount them because it sets on this ledge here. And there's no way to get them out of there once they're in there. So I guess I'm going to pre-mount them on this thing outside of the plane. Get my holes drilled for them. You know what I mean? That way, at least I have a fighting chance of getting a screw in here somehow. Some kind of an odd screwdriver, I don't know. But we'll figure something out. But this I'm going to work on now. I got the, these things are curing, I'm getting ready to saw them off. Be a little bit yet. But while I'm waiting on that, I'm going to rig up something here. I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll figure it out though. I'll get back with you when I figure it out. Okay, I got my servos mounted. I'm using S3010, same servos that were in my Extra 300. New switch. I'm going to have like a rod sticking out the fuselage with a right angle on it. Out being on, in being off. And I got them. Now I'm going to dismount all this stuff. Hit each hole with some thin CA. Blow it out so that it doesn't make a big hard clump in there. And after that dries, I'm going to run each screw down through the holes to like re-thread the hole. And then I'm going to mount this in the aircraft. Take all these screws back out. Cool thing is I already have the holes pre-done. All I got to do is try to figure out how to get a screw in them. Can't remember what I did when I mounted my servos in the Tiger 2 last time I built one. That was back in 1996. I think these kits were new back then. I think I just used 2 1/4 by 5/16 sticks and mounted them in there. This would have been a good idea, but where the wing hold down blocks are, blocks your screws, at least one of them. I got to figure out if 3 will work. It's not a giant aircraft, so it's not going to be a whole lot of torque and stuff, but still. All right, now I'm going to take each one of the holes, I'm going to put a drop of thin CA on, blow them out, and then after it dries a little bit, I'm going to screw each screw back in. I'll just take one screw and just go through each one. First, I want to sand these. All right. Let that dry a little bit, and then I'll come back through and run a screw through there and redo the threads. Because putting that thin CA in there just raised the grain. So when I go to run the screw back in, it's going to really be a strong joint there. Well, you probably aren't going to be able to see this, but I'm getting ready to glue this servo tray in, and what I'm doing is I'm kind of like letting it float there while I get a bead of glue on, and then I'm going to move it up into position. Hopefully that worked. Now I'm just running a reinforcement fillet along the perimeter. Don't like this design at all. Try to get one in underneath here. There it is. You know, and I don't think that switch is going to fit either. Find out here shortly. Okay, as you can see, my switch didn't fit where it was supposed to go, so I have to move it in. I put a servo in just to make sure that it would clear, and it does. So I'm going to bridge, man, my camera sucks. I'm going to bridge some plywood here to strengthen that a little bit because I don't like that. So I'm going to get some plywood cut and put that in there. Then I got to cut this hole out for the switch. I know it's going to be hard for you guys to see, but I got this piece here. I'm just going to bridge it. I would go underneath it, but it's already hard enough to get stuff in and out of there. So I'm going to glue it to the top and clamp it in place. While that dries, I'm going to cut out that switch hole. Might as well. Alright, got that out. Now, I'm going to see about permanently mounting that switch in there. That should be dry enough. It should work out. You're not gonna believe it. It ain't gonna work after all that trouble. Oh yeah, it popped. Boy, it barely fits in there. Holy mackerel. Never again will I build this kit like this. I'll look for a original Goldberg kit, because this thing, it's not, laser cut's nice, but it totally messed over the rest of the installation of the radio. Okay. That switch is actually touching that back side. And I moved it as far in as I can get it, but it's strong there. It's gonna stay. So that's the switch. Now, I'm gonna start screwing these servos in. So, like that. Maybe I should put that other one in last. Well, I'll just stick it up in here. This one will go in. I don't know how much of that you're seeing. Nothing, of course. Once I mount these, they're in. I ain't taking them back out. There's absolutely no room up there for anything. Okay, you can stay down there. Okay, those are in. Boy, it's even gonna be hard to get a screw down for those. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and mount all them screws down in now, except for those ones that are impossible to get. You know what I might do? Oh no, I can't. What's that one? That's the rudder and steering. Well, I mean, I can. I just have to. I think I'll try it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole down through this mount big enough to where I can get that last screw in. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mark where I need to drill that hole. Got to be big enough to get a screwdriver down in there too. So it's got to be at least that thick. All right, let's put the rest of these screws in that I can get to. So if you guys got any questions, comments, or whatever, just leave them down there in the comments section. And I look at my comments every time I get one, so I get alerts. So I try to stay up on it as much as I can. Okay, those are all in. I'm going to loosen them all up because I want to make sure I got my spacing in my servo correct. Trying to put a 1/16 inch between them. Okay, got them all. Now I gotta drill the holes here and here to get that other screw in. I don't like to not leave, or I don't like to leave screws out, so I'm gonna get the drill and get the drill. Wish me luck. Okay, that'll go down with a screw. Well, I can put the screw down here. Check that out. All right, now this one's going to be a trick because I got that tubing in the way. I don't know if I can get by it. I'm not going to be able to, so I have to cut that tubing a little short. Shorter than I wanted to, but oh well. I should get that. There we go. All the screws are in. I just used that hole in there. Looks like a wing mounting hole, but there's the screw. Same with this one. That was an ingenious idea. I'm sure all you guys would have already thought about it anyways. Okay, so servo's mounted. What else we got left to do? Okay. I gotta level the tail. I'm gonna put the tail on temporarily, the horizontal stabilizer temporarily. Get that leveled out. And then I'm going to mount the wing. And we still have to sand the little fillet section that goes on the wing. Get it round like this. So that's what I'm going to do. And then we'll get the wing level with the stabilizer. And once that's done, it's time to fill all the little divots. Fix all the little dings. Use Model Magic for that. And then we're on to covering after we sand that off. So I'm going to get set up for that. I'm going to clean up this mesh real quick. And then we'll mount that. Well, there it is. Throttle, rudder, elevator, hooked up, ready to go. They're all centered and square. I got full range on my throttle. So that's it for that. Now we're gonna go cut them off and get that sanded smooth. Okay, the way I did this on the P40, I'll show you one side and then I'll do the other. I just held that saw right along the edge there. All right, and then you just take your sanding block. This is 220. Probably gonna need more than that. You just got to keep working at it because you want to cut it down. You can even use a straight razor. You can run that along. Careful you don't cut your wood. And then whatever sticks up, take care of with Model Magic, or whatever does, you know, leave something behind. See. Then you stick your pushrod in there and you check it for play or check it for smoothness, and it's pretty smooth. So that's, this side's done. I'll do the other side off camera and I'll bring you back in. All right, so I mounted up the wing and I'm getting to the point where I'm sanding this to where it looks nice up against the fuselage. And I started just to see how it would go, and it's going pretty good. I'm just going to keep whittling away at it, and we'll see how it turns out. And remember, if you mess up, that's what they make balsa filler for. So just don't worry about that. Just do your best to make this thing as smooth as possible. Hard to do this left-handed, unless you are left-handed, of course. Trying to avoid gouging my sheeting. So far it's doing all right. Might take some sandpaper and try to do it by hand a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. The rest of it's going to have to be filled. I don't think I ever sanded that. So this part here will get all model magicked in. I'm going to fill in the sides too. I'm going to put some wax paper along the wing saddle so I can try to fill in the front leading edge area. But it looks pretty good. I had to make a slight alteration to my pushrod guide here. I had to make it to where they could move because they're so close to the control horns they were going to bind up. So I made it to where at least they can, they can pivot, or has some side movement to keep my servos from binding. Other than that, the radio and the fuse is done, except for, you know, running the push rods. I think we're on to putting the Model Magic in there. Or no, yeah, I guess we are. We're on to putting the Model Magic. I'm going to put some wax paper on the front there to try to fill in that wing saddle a little bit. I don't like the way it looks, but I'll show you. A little bit of a gap. And I can bridge that with Model Magic. It'll look fine. Same with this side. But this turned out really good. Now I just got to fill this back in with Model Magic. And go around looking for little gaps. This is the point where I fill in everything. If it has a dent, I can get it out with steam, a little water and a sealing iron. But like gaps, I'm going to fill all this kind of stuff. That's going to get filled. Even a seam like that, I'm going to fill. Because I don't want any seam showing through my cover. So I'll get set up, and I think I'm going to first put the Model Magic on the wing. How do I want to do this? I really want to fix that up. So I'm going to take the wing back off, set some wax paper down in there, and put the wing back on, and see what we can do with that. Okay, I think I'm going to start in this area with the Model Magic. Well, it's Hobby Light filler is what I use. DAP also makes something similar that you can use. This does, oh, I'm gonna have to get a new bottle. Brand new. Okay, so you gotta kind of knead this when you put it on. What I like to do first is take a paper towel and wet the wood that you're going to put this on. So the idea behind that is if you put this on wet on dry wood, the dry wood is going to suck all the moisture out of this and it'll flake off or it'll be hard to sand. Whereas if you wet your wood, the moisture will stay in this and it'll cure the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to wet this area and we're going to smear some on. I'm going to really cake it on there because there's a lot to fill right there. So we'll see how it goes. Just a wet paper towel will work. And you just knead this a little bit. We'll leave it at that. Now I want to go in here and try to fill that in a little bit. Now you can't see what I'm doing. Doing the same thing on this side. What I'm trying to do here is this stuff's a pain in the butt to use. Probably got way too much on there. But I might have to use 2 or 3 coats, but I'm just trying to fill in that gap a little bit. And it's, you know, see how it goes. To make sandpaper for to fix the stuff that doesn't look right. And while I got this upside down, the wing upside down, I'm going to go along and do the wing and stuff. I'll do that in fast speed. Here's the bottom side done with the, well, not necessarily done. I could need a second coat, but with the hobby light filler. Did the leading edge seam there. Had a couple of spots. The wing fell off the wall and I dinged in my cap strip there, so I fixed that. But anywhere that needed like a seam filled, I fixed. And I'll do the top side off camera. I'm going to call this video because we've been well over an hour and a half. So next time you see this plane, we'll be covering it. I'll have it all sanded, filled, and everything is ready to go. So we'll end this one right here. Well, we made good progress today, but I'm going to call this a video. Next time you see this plane, we will be covering the Tiger II, just like the box art. And I'll get all this hobby light filler done. It'll be sanded and ready to go for the next video because it'll just be a covering video. I'll have this, I'm going to clean my shop up. It's a hellacious mess, so I'll get it cleaned up, and then next video will be covering this thing. We're getting really close. So anyway, if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to my channel, and be sure and tell your friends about it. If you have anybody that you know that might be interested in building RC, share the videos with them. Tell them about the channel, and be sure and subscribe and like and share the videos. That way more people can see it, and maybe this hobby will grow, because it's kind of a dying art. People don't build much that anymore, and it's starting to pick up a little bit, but I'd like to see it more. So anyway, if you got these vintage kits stashed away, get them out and get them on the table and start building. They're no fun to just sit there in the box and look at. When you build them and see your creation take flight, it's quite an experience. So anyway, we'll end this video now, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.